Commander Taman stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, watching the stars blur past the view screen. His 4 remaining ships limped through space, trailing debris and leaking atmosphere. Just 3 days ago, he had commanded 12 proud vessels of the Velkari exploration fleet. Now only 4 survived, and they were dying slowly. The enemy had come without warning. The Devourers appeared from nowhere, their black ships shaped like hungry insects. They consumed everything in their path: metal, energy, even the crew members, who got too close. The Velkari had fought bravely, but their weapons barely scratched the alien hulls. For every Devourer ship they destroyed, 2 more took its place. "Sir, hull breach on Deck 7, reported Dahi from her engineering station. The chief engineer's blue skin had turned pale with exhaustion. "We've sealed it for now, but the structural damage is getting worse." Taman nodded grimly. Dahi had worked miracles keeping their ship together, but even miracles had limits. The Eternal Dawn shuddered as another support beam gave way somewhere deep in its belly. At the navigation station, young Hyunwoo looked up from his instruments. His large eyes showed the guilt he still carried. It was his decision to explore the forbidden zone that led them into the Devourer trap. "Commander, our quantum drive is failing. At current speed, we have maybe 6 hours before total shutdown." 6 hours. Taemin felt his heart sink. The Devourers were tracking them, staying just out of weapons range while they waited for the Velkari ships to die on their own. It was efficient hunting. Why waste energy when your prey was already bleeding to death? "Any word from the other ships?" Taemin asked. Communications Officer Jiho shook his head. "The Silver Wing lost life support an hour ago. Captain Bonhua is trying to transfer his crew to the Star Runner, but they don't have enough space pods." His voice cracked slightly. "The morning light isn't responding to our signals. 4 ships had become 3. Soon 3 would become 2, then 1, then none." Taemin had led his people into this trap, and now he couldn't lead them out. The weight of command felt heavier than a collapsed star. The bridge fell quiet except for the steady beeping of warning alarms. Everyone knew they were going to die. The question was whether they would die fighting or running. Taemin preferred fighting, but they had nothing left to fight with. "Wait," Hyunwoo said suddenly, his voice rising with excitement. "I'm picking up something strange." "Devourers?" Dahi asked, her hands moving to the weapons controls. "No, this is different. It's a transmission, but not from any Velkari ship." Hyunwoo's fingers danced over his console. "The signal is very weak, coming from the edge of the system. It's not Devourer either." Taemin moved to look over the navigator's shoulder. "Show me." The main screen filled with wavelength patterns and data streams. The signal looked artificial, clearly from an intelligent species, but the patterns were completely unknown. It repeated every few minutes, broadcasting into empty space. "Could it be another exploration fleet?" Jiho suggested hopefully. "No," Dahi said firmly. "I've never seen these energy signatures before. This isn't any species in our database." Hyunwoo adjusted his instruments, trying to clean up the signal. "Commander, I think it's some kind of monitoring station. Someone is listening to space. Communications from this position." "Listening?" Taemin felt a spark of desperate hope. "Are you certain? The transmission patterns suggest they're scanning multiple frequencies and recording everything they hear. Whoever built that station wants to know what's happening in this part of space." Dahi spun around in her chair. "Sir, you can't be thinking what I think you're thinking. We know nothing about this species. They could be worse than the Devourers. Or they could help us," Jiho added quietly. "Help us?" Dahi's voice rose. "We don't even know if they're friendly. For all we know, they eat other species for breakfast. Sending them our location could doom what's left of our fleet." Taemin understood Dahi's concerns, but what choice did they have? "Hyunwoo, how long until the Devourers catch up?" The young navigator checked his readings. 4 hours, maybe 5 if we push the engines past safety limits." "And how long until our ships fail completely?" 6 hours at most, sir. So they had maybe 4 hours of life left, possibly 5. After that, the Devourers would finish what the failing ship started. Taemin looked around his bridge at the crew who had trusted him with their lives. They deserved better than dying, alone in empty space. Jiho, can you modify our communications array to reach that monitoring station? The communications officer nodded slowly. I think so, sir. But it will take most of our remaining power. If this doesn't work, we won't have enough energy to fight when the Devourers arrive. If this doesn't work, we'll be dead anyway, Taemin replied. Do it. Dahi stood up from her station. Commander, I must formally protest this decision. We're about to reveal our location and our weakness to a completely unknown species. This could be the worst mistake in Velkari history. History is written by those who survive, Dahi. Right now, we have no other options. Taemin placed his hand on her shoulder. I know you're scared. I'm scared too. But sometimes you have to trust in the darkness and hope someone answers. Dahi looked into his eyes for a long moment, then nodded reluctantly. I'll reroute power to communications, but if these aliens turn out to be monsters, I'm blaming you in the afterlife. Despite everything, Taemin almost smiled. Fair enough. The next hour passed in tense preparation. Dahi and her engineers worked frantically to boost their communications array while Jiho composed a message that could be understood by an alien species. Hyunwoo monitored both the approaching Devourers and the mysterious signal, updating their position every few minutes. Power levels at maximum, Dahi reported. We've got one shot at this. Jiho looked up from his station. Message ready, sir. I've included mathematical concepts, star charts showing our position, and basic information about our situation. If they're smart enough to build that monitoring station, they should be able to understand we need help. Will they understand that we're being hunted? Taemin asked. I've included sensor readings of the Devourer ships. Any species with interstellar travel should recognize the signatures of weapons fire and hull damage. Taemin took a deep breath. This was it. Either he was about to save his people, or he was about to lead them into an even worse trap. Send the message. Jiho pressed the transmission button. The ship's lights dimmed as massive amounts of power flowed into the communications array. For 30 seconds, the Eternal Dawn broadcast everything it could about the Velkari, their situation, and their desperate need for help. Then the power died, and they waited. Message sent, sir. Jiho reported unnecessarily. Now we see if anyone was listening. Minutes passed like hours. The bridge crew watched their instruments, hoping for any sign of response. The Devourers continued their slow approach, patient as death itself. The other Velkari ships continued their gradual failure, systems shutting down one by one. Anything? Taemin asked every few minutes. Nothing yet, sir, Jiho replied each time. After an hour, Dahi spoke up. Commander, the Devourers have increased speed. They'll be in weapons range in 2 hours. Maybe the aliens didn't understand our message, Hyunwoo suggested. Or maybe they're too far away to help in time. Or maybe they decided we're not worth saving, Dahi added grimly. Taemin refused to give up hope. Keep listening. Someone heard us. I can feel it. Another hour passed. The Silver Wing finally lost main power, and its crew transferred to the overcrowded Star Runner. The Morning Light came back online briefly, only to report that their life support had failed. Captain Minjung and her crew had maybe 30 minutes of air left. Sir, Jiho said suddenly, his voice tight with excitement. I'm getting something. It's weak, but it's definitely artificial. Everyone on the bridge held their breath. The main screen filled with new signal patterns, completely different from anything they had seen before. The transmission was short and repeated several times. Can you understand it? Taemin asked. Jiho worked frantically at his console. It's using some of the mathematical concepts we sent, I think. They're trying to say they received our message. That's all? Dahi demanded. No promise of help? No coordinates? Just we got your message? Before Jiho could answer, Hyunwoo shouted from his station. Contact. Something big just appeared at the edge of the system. It's moving fast directly toward us. Devourers? Taemin asked, though he dreaded the answer. No, sir. The energy signature is completely different. It's the same as the monitoring station signal. The bridge erupted in amazed whispers. Someone had not only received their message but was actually coming to help. Taemin felt his hearts racing with hope and terror in equal measure. "How long until they reach us?" he asked. Hyunwoo checked his calculations twice. "At current speed, about 90 minutes, sir." "And the Devourers?" "Still 2 hours out. The unknown ship will reach us first." Dahi looked up from her engineering station. "One ship against an entire Devourer hunting pack? What can they possibly do?" "I don't know," Taemin admitted. "But they came. Someone heard our cry for help and answered. The next 90 minutes crawled by like 90 hours. The alien ship grew larger on their sensors, clearly more advanced than any Velkari vessel. Its design was completely..." Captain So-Young Kim was reviewing stellar cartography reports when the alert came through. The bridge of the research vessel Endeavour erupted in quiet activity as her crew responded to the unexpected signal from deep space. "Captain, we're receiving an unknown transmission," reported Lieutenant Commander Min-Ho Park from his tactical station. The former Marine kept his voice level, but So-Young could hear the tension underneath. "It's not from any human source." So-Young looked up from her. Reports immediately focused. The Endeavour was conducting deep space research near the Helix Nebula, far from any known shipping lanes or colony worlds. They shouldn't be hearing anything except stellar background radiation. "Put it through communications," she ordered, moving to the center of the bridge. Dr. Woo Jin Lee, their chief xenobiologist, practically bounced out of his chair with excitement. "Captain, if this is what I think it is..." "Let's hear it first, Doctor," So-Young interrupted gently. "Min-Ho, what do your sensors tell you?" Min-Ho studied his displays carefully. "The signal originated approximately 4 light hours from our current position. It's definitely artificial, highly complex, and broadcasting on multiple frequencies simultaneously." The main speakers crackled to life with sounds unlike anything the human crew had ever heard. Mathematical concepts flowed through the transmission, mixed with what sounded like distress calls and technical data. Images appeared on screen showing star charts, ship designs, and weapon signatures. "My God," whispered Dr. Woo Jin, his eyes wide with wonder. "This is first contact. We're actually listening to an alien species." Chief Medical Officer Na-Young Choi moved closer to study the transmitted images. "These look like battle damage reports. Someone is hurt and asking for help." So-Young felt her pulse quicken. First contact with an alien species was the dream of every space explorer. But this wasn't the peaceful meeting everyone had imagined. Someone out there was in trouble, and they had reached out to humanity in their darkest hour. "Min-Ho analysis," she ordered curtly. "The technical data suggests multiple spacecraft in distress, heavy damage, systems failing, and..." Min-Ho paused, checking his readings. "Captain, I'm detecting weapon signatures that don't match the distressed ships. Someone else is out there and they're hostile." Dr. Woo Jin leaned forward eagerly. "We have to respond. This is the greatest moment in human history. We can't just ignore it. We can't just rush in blindly either," Min-Ho countered. "This could be a trap. We know nothing about either alien species. One could be luring us into an ambush." Na-Young looked at the medical data flowing through the transmission. "Captain, I'm seeing casualty reports. Whoever sent this message is dying. People are dying." So-Young studied the information streaming across her screens. The mathematics were elegant and clearly intelligent. The star charts showed precise knowledge of local space. Most importantly, the distress signals carried an emotional weight that transcended species barriers. "Options," she said simply. Min-Ho spoke first. "Standard protocol requires us to report this to Starfleet Command and await orders. First contact situations are supposed to be handled by diplomatic specialists, not research vessels." "That could take days," Dr. Woo Jin protested. "By then, these aliens could be dead. We'll never get another chance like this." "Exactly my point," Min-Ho replied. "We're not equipped for military action. Our ship has basic defensive systems, not combat weapons. If this is a trap or if the hostile aliens turn on us, we can't protect ourselves." Na-Young held up her medical scanner, which was somehow interpreting the alien biometric data. "These life signs are getting weaker. Whatever's happening out there, it's happening fast." So-Young closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of decision. Her orders were clear: maintain communication silence during their research mission and avoid any unnecessary risks. But those orders had been written by people who had never faced the reality of first contact. "Doctor, how confident are you that this is a genuine distress call?" Dr. Wu Jin studied the transmission patterns on his console. 90% certain, Captain. The emotional content is too complex to fake, and the technical data matches what we'd expect from a species advanced enough for interstellar travel. Minho, if we respond and move to assist, what are our tactical options? The tactical officer grimaced. Limited. Our experimental jump drive could get us there quickly, but our weapons are primarily designed for asteroid mining and debris clearing. Against military-grade alien technology, he shrugged helplessly. But we do have the jump drive, So Young said thoughtfully. That's an advantage most human ships don't have. It's also completely untested in combat situations, Minho warned. We could end up stranded in hostile space with no way home. Na Young spoke up quietly. Captain, I took an oath to help anyone who needed medical assistance regardless of who they were. These readings show people dying. If we can help them, shouldn't we try? So Young looked around her bridge at the crew who had volunteered for this dangerous research mission. They were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. But they were also human beings, and human beings helped each other when they could. Dr. Wu Jin, can you prepare a response message? Already working on it, Captain, he replied excitedly. Basic mathematical concepts to show we understand, our position coordinates, and an indication that we're coming to help. Minho plot. A jump course to the alien position, fastest possible route. Minho hesitated. Captain, I must formally log my objection to this course of action. Noted and recorded, So Young replied firmly. But we're going anyway. For the next hour, the Endeavour prepared for humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. Dr. Wu Jin worked with the communications team to establish better contact with the aliens. Na Young prepared the medical bay for unknown alien physiology. Minho ran combat simulations and tried to figure out how their mining lasers could be used as weapons. Message sent, Dr. Wu Jin reported. Basic acknowledgement that we received their transmission and we're coming to help. Any response? So Young asked. Not yet, but the original distress signals are getting weaker. Whatever's happening to them, it's getting worse. Minho looked up from his tactical display. Captain, I'm detecting multiple hostile contacts moving toward the alien position. Large ships, heavily armed. The aliens weren't lying about being in danger. So Young felt a chill run down her spine. They were about to jump into an active combat zone between alien species they knew nothing about. It was exactly the kind of situation Starfleet protocols were designed to prevent. Jump drive. Ready? Reported Chief Engineer Sang-Wook from the engine room. But Captain, I have to warn you. We've never tested this system under combat stress. If something goes wrong during the jump, we could end up anywhere. Understood, So Young replied. All hands, prepare for emergency jump. We're going into an unknown situation to help unknown people fight unknown enemies. I won't lie to you. This is probably the most dangerous thing any human has ever attempted. She paused, looking around the bridge at her crew. If anyone wants to object, speak now. Silence filled the bridge. These people had volunteered for deep space research because they wanted to push the boundaries of human knowledge. Today they would push further than anyone had ever gone before. Jump in 3, 2, 1, execute. The Endeavour vanished from normal space in a flash of twisted light. For a moment that felt like eternity, the ship existed between dimensions, traveling faster than physics should allow. Then reality reasserted itself and they emerged in a battlefield. The main screen immediately filled with chaos. Alien ships fired weapons at each other while debris from destroyed vessels drifted through space. The distressed aliens were clearly losing. Their ships were badly damaged and heavily outnumbered. Tactical analysis, So Young ordered. Minho's hands flew over his controls. 4 alien ships in distress, 12 hostiles closing in. The friendly ships are barely holding together while the hostile ships look completely undamaged. Those must be the Devourers the distress call mentioned, Dr. Wu Jin said, studying the alien data streaming to his station. They appear to Be some kind of machine race that consumes other ships. Na-Young pointed at her medical scanner. Life signs on the friendly ships are dropping fast. They're running out of time. So-Young studied the tactical display. The human ship was small, compared to the alien vessels, but it was fast and maneuverable. Most importantly, it was unexpected. Minho, can our mining lasers penetrate those hostile ship hulls? Maybe, if we concentrate fire on weak points. But Captain, once we open fire, we become a target too. Then we'd better make our first shots. Count. So-Young took a deep breath. All hands battle stations. We're about to make first contact the hard way. The Endeavour accelerated toward the battle, its experimental engines pushing the ship to speeds that would have been impossible with conventional human technology. The hostile aliens, the Devourers, turned their attention to this new arrival with what looked like mechanical curiosity. Target the nearest Devourer ship, So-Young ordered. Full power to mining lasers. Targeting. Locked. Firing. Brilliant energy beams lanced out from the human ship, striking the Devourer vessel amidships. To everyone's amazement, the alien hull began to buckle and burn. The Devourer ship spun wildly, clearly damaged. We heard it. The space around the Helix Nebula erupted into chaos as the combined human Velkari fleet engaged the Devourer swarm. Captain So-Young Kim watched her tactical display with growing amazement as the unlikely alliance began to take shape. Devourer, formation breaking apart, reported Minho from his tactical station. They weren't expecting coordinated resistance. The Endeavour dove between two massive Devourer ships, its mining lasers carving deep wounds in their black hulls. Behind them, the Velkari vessels provided covering fire, their energy weapons keeping the enemy from focusing on the small human ship. This is incredible, Dr. Wu Jin called out from his station. The Velkari are sharing real-time tactical data through our communication link. It's like they're reading our minds. On the main screen, Commander Taemin's image flickered as both ships maneuvered through the battle. Captain Kim, your weapons are very effective against Devourer armor. Can you target their command ship? So-Young studied the tactical display. The largest Devourer vessel hung back from the main battle, coordinating the attack with mechanical precision. Taking it out would disrupt their entire formation. We'll need cover, she replied. That ship is heavily defended. My fighters will clear a path, came a new voice through the communication system. The screen split to show a young Velkari pilot in a sleek combat suit. I am Yunji, squadron leader. We will protect your ship. So-Young watched in fascination as alien fighters swarmed around the Endeavour, their graceful ships moving with impossible precision. The pilots seemed to understand human tactics instinctively, adapting their formations to protect the larger vessel. Amazing, breathed Na-Young from her medical station. They're treating our ship like part of their own fleet. Minho shook his head in wonder. Captain, these pilots are incredible. They're anticipating Devourer movements and blocking their attacks before we even know we're in danger. The alliance was working better than anyone could have hoped. The Devourers, who had been slowly consuming the dying Velkari fleet, now found themselves fighting a coordinated force that adapted faster than their mechanical minds could process. Direct hit on the command ship's forward section, Minho reported as the Endeavour's weapons struck home. But their hull is much thicker than the smaller vessels. Keep firing, So-Young ordered. We need to punch through their armor. In engineering, Sang-Wook's voice came through the intercom. Captain, I'm rerouting power from life support to the mining lasers. We'll have maximum firepower, but only for about 10 minutes. Make it count, So-Young replied. The battle raged around them as both fleets poured everything they had into the fight. Devourer ships began to fall under the combined assault, their adaptive armor unable to cope with the variety of human and Velkari weapons. Captain, Dr. Wu Jin said excitedly, I'm receiving technical data from the Velkari engineers. They're trying to integrate their systems with ours. Is that safe? Minho asked, not taking his eyes off the tactical display. I think so. They're sharing power distribution algorithms and targeting solutions. It's like they want to help us fight more effectively. On the communication screen, a new Velkari face appeared. This one was clearly an engineer, with tool-stained hands and intense concentration. Human vessel, I am Yejin, science officer. Your weapons technology is fascinating. Can we link our targeting computers? Before So Young could answer, Sang-wook's voice came from engineering. Captain, they're sending us technical specifications. Their targeting system could increase our accuracy by 30%. So Young made a split-second decision. Do it. Link the systems. The Endeavor shuddered as alien technology interfaced with human engineering. For a moment, the ship's systems flickered uncertainly. Then everything snapped into perfect focus. The tactical display became clearer. The weapons responded faster and the ship moved with new precision. Targeting lock on the command ship's reactor core, Minho announced with satisfaction. The Velkari systems are incredible. I can see weak points I never would have noticed. Fire everything we have. The Endeavor's mining lasers, now guided by alien targeting computers, struck the Devourer command ship with devastating accuracy. The massive vessel shuddered, its hull cracking along stress lines that only the Velkari sensors could detect. Their command structure is collapsing, reported Yoonji as her fighters swarmed around the dying ship. The other Devourers are losing coordination. True to her words, the remaining Devourer ships began to operate independently, their mechanical efficiency replaced by confused individual actions. The human Velkari alliance pressed their advantage, destroying 3 more enemy vessels in quick succession. But the Devourers still outnumbered them 2-1, and their weapons were starting to adapt to the combined tactics. Captain, Minho warned, the enemy ships are modifying their targeting systems. Our maneuvers are becoming predictable. So Young watched the tactical display with growing concern. The Devourers might be mechanical, but they learned fast. Already their weapons fire was coming closer to both human and Velkari ships. We need something they can't adapt to, she muttered. Dr. Wu Jin looked up from his console with sudden inspiration. Captain, what if we're thinking about this wrong? The Devourers adapt to our weapons and tactics, but they can't adapt to something they've never seen before. What do you mean? Human intuition. Everything they do is based on logical analysis and pattern recognition. But humans are famous for doing unexpected, illogical things that somehow work. On the communication screen, Commander Taemin seemed to understand the idea immediately. Your species fights with emotion as well as logic. The Devourers cannot predict this. So Young felt a wild plan forming in her mind. It was crazy, dangerous, and completely against standard tactical doctrine. In other words, it was perfectly human. All ships, prepare for pattern Delta, she announced. Minho looked confused. Captain, we don't have a pattern Delta. We do now. Yoonji, can your fighters follow our lead without knowing what we're going to do? The Velkari pilot's image showed a fierce grin. Human unpredictability? This should be interesting. So Young took manual control of the ship, something no captain was supposed to do during combat. The Endeavor suddenly broke formation and dove straight toward the largest group of Devourer ships, accelerating far beyond safe speeds. Captain, what are you doing? Minho asked with barely controlled panic. Something stupid, So Young replied cheerfully. Sang-wook, prepare to vent our entire reactor core on my signal.
That will destroy us too, came the engineer's horrified voice. Not if we time it right. Trust me. The Velkari fighters followed the human ship into what looked like a suicide run, their pilots trusting in the strange logic of their new allies.
The Devourers focused all their fire on the incoming ships, calculating the optimal interception pattern. At the last possible second, So Young triggered the reactor vent. The Endeavor released a massive cloud of superheated plasma directly into the Devourer formation, while simultaneously executing a sharp turn that should have torn the ship apart. The plasma cloud, invisible to Devourer sensors until it was too late, engulfed 3 enemy ships and disabled 2 more. The Velkari fighters, protected by their own ship's shields, swept through the confusion to deliver killing blows. Impossible, came Timon's amazed voice through the communication link. Your reactor should have exploded. Human engineering, So Young replied, trying to hide the fact that she was just as surprised as everyone else. We build things tough. The tide of battle was turning. The Devourers, faced with tactics that defied logical analysis, began to retreat. Their mechanical minds couldn't process the combination of human unpredictability and Velkhari precision. 2. Enemy ships remaining, Minho reported. They're trying to withdraw. Let them go. Commander Taemin's voice carried exhaustion and relief. They have learned that we are not easy prey. As the last Devourer ships disappeared into hyperspace, both fleets regrouped to assess the damage. The immediate threat was over, but both species knew this was just the beginning. Captain Kim, Taemin said formally, my people owe you a debt we can never repay. You risked your ship and crew for strangers you had never met. So Young felt embarrassed by the praise. We did what anyone would do. You needed help and we were able to provide it. Dr. Wu Jin looked up from his console with excitement. Captain, the cultural exchange data we've received is incredible. The Velkhari civilization is thousands of years old, with art, philosophy, and science that could advance human knowledge by centuries. And your people, added Ye Jin from her station, show a remarkable ability to find solutions where none should exist. Your approach to problems is completely different from ours, but incredibly effective. Na Young had been quietly monitoring both human and alien medical data throughout the battle. Captain, I'm reading injured crew members on both sides. With your permission, I'd like to coordinate medical assistance between our ships. So Young nodded immediately. Of course, Doctor. Prepare to receive alien patients if needed. The next several hours passed in a blur of activity as both fleets worked together to repair damage and treat casualties. Human engineering teams worked, alongside Velkhari technicians, sharing knowledge and techniques that neither species had imagined before. This is remarkable, reported Sang-wook from engineering. 3 days after the battle, the combined human Velkhari fleet orbited a small asteroid that provided raw materials for repairs. Both species worked together with an efficiency that amazed everyone involved. Captain So-young Kim walked through the Endeavor's engineering section, where human and Velkhari technicians worked side by side on damaged systems. The sight still seemed impossible. Aliens and humans sharing tools, knowledge, and occasionally what passed for jokes between species. Captain, you need to see this, called Chief Engineer Sang-wook from beneath a power coupling. Beside him, a Velkhari engineer named Kyung-soo held a diagnostic scanner, their blue-tinted hands surprisingly similar to human ones. What have you found? So-young asked. Kyung-soo looked up with excitement in his large eyes. Your ship's reactor design is incredible. We have been trying to achieve this level of power efficiency for decades, and their quantum processors, Sang-wook added, emerging from the power coupling with grease on his uniform, can perform calculations that would take our computers hours to complete. If we could combine our technologies, the results would benefit both species greatly, Kyung-soo finished. So-young watched the two engineers return to their work with mutual respect and enthusiasm. This scene was repeated throughout both fleets as crews discovered that their different approaches to problems created solutions neither could achieve alone. In the medical bay, Dr. Na Young Choi worked alongside Su Min, a Velkhari healer who had volunteered to help treat human patients. The alien doctor's methods were different but remarkably effective. Your healing techniques are fascinating, Na Young said as she watched Su Min use a device that somehow accelerated cell regeneration. How does it work? We learned long ago that the body wants to heal itself, Su Min explained through their translation system. Our tools simply help natural processes work faster. But your surgical techniques are amazing, so precise, so direct. You fix problems we would have thought impossible to repair. The cultural exchange was happening at every level. Human musicians had discovered that Velkhari music used mathematical harmonies that created incredibly beautiful sounds. Velkhari artists were fascinated by human abstract art, which expressed emotions in ways their logical minds had never considered. Dr. Wu Jin had barely slept in 3 days, too excited by the flood of new information to rest. He found So-young on the observation deck, staring out at the Velkhari ships that floated nearby like graceful sea creatures. Captain, The linguistic analysis is complete, he said, settling into a chair beside her. The Velkari language is incredibly complex, but their mathematics are universal. We can establish full communication within days. What about their culture? So Young asked. Are they really as peaceful as they seem? Even more so. They've been exploring space for over 1,000 years, but they've never encountered a hostile species before the Devourers. Their entire civilization is built around discovery, art, and scientific advancement. So Young felt a moment of sadness. And then they met the Devourers, who want to destroy everything they've built. That's why this alliance is so important, Dr. Wu Jin said seriously. Alone, neither species could stand against a full Devourer invasion, but together we have a chance. As if summoned by their conversation, Commander Taemin's image appeared on a nearby communication screen. The Velkari leader looked tired, but determined. Captain Kim, I hope you can join us for a strategy meeting. We have received disturbing news from our home systems. An hour later, representatives from both species gathered in the Endeavor's main conference room. The translation systems had improved dramatically, allowing nearly real-time conversation. The situation is worse than we feared, Taemin began, activating a holographic display showing the local region of space. Our long-range sensors have detected massive Devourer movements throughout this sector. What we fought was just a scouting force. Jae-won, a human strategic analyst, studied the display with growing concern. How many ships are we talking about? Ye-jin, the Velkari science officer who had helped coordinate their weapons during the battle, provided the grim answer. Our estimates suggest over 300 Devourer vessels, organized into multiple fleets. They appear to be conducting a systematic sweep of inhabited systems. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. 300 ships, against the handful of vessels in their combined fleet, seemed hopeless. Hoseok, a Velkari combat coordinator who had been studying human military tactics, leaned forward. However, we may have advantages they do not expect. The battle data shows that Devourer adaptation algorithms cannot process truly random human tactical decisions. Meaning? Asked Minho. Meaning we can be unpredictable in ways that their mechanical minds cannot counter, Hoseok explained. Your species' tendency toward unconventional solutions disrupts their entire tactical framework. Jae-won nodded thoughtfully. But we need more than unconventional tactics. We need ships, weapons, and personnel. A lot of them. Taemin activated another section of the holographic display. Both our governments have been informed of the situation. Velkari defense fleets are being mobilized from across our territory. And Earth? So Young asked. Starfleet Command is sending everything they can spare, Minho reported. But it will take time for our forces to reach this sector. Dr. Wu Jin looked up from his analysis pad. How much time do we have before the main Devourer force arrives? Our best estimate is 6 days, Ye-jin answered. Maybe 7 if they continue their current systematic approach. 6 days to prepare for a battle that would determine the fate of both civilizations. So Young felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders like a heavy cloak. Then we'd better make every minute count, she said. What do we need to do? The next several hours were spent in intense planning, as both species pooled their knowledge and resources. The Velkari provided detailed information about Devourer tactics and technology, while the humans contributed strategic thinking and unconventional approaches to warfare. The key is their command structure, explained Jae-won as he studied captured Devourer data. They use a hierarchical network to coordinate their fleets. If we can disrupt their communications, their entire formation becomes vulnerable, Hoseok finished. But their command ships are heavily defended. Getting close enough to attack them would be almost impossible. Unless we don't attack them directly, suggested Sang-wook. What if we could plant some kind of virus in their communication network? Ye-jin's eyes lit up with understanding. A quantum virus that spreads through their data links. It could work, but someone would have to get close enough to upload it directly. How close? So Young asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Physical contact with their command ship, Yejin admitted. It would be a one-way mission. The room fell silent again. Everyone understood what that meant. Someone would have to sacrifice their life to give the combined fleet a chance at victory. There has to be another way, Na Young said firmly. We didn't just meet each other to watch people die. For the next 3 days, both crews worked frantically to prepare for the coming battle. Human and Velkari engineers collaborated on weapon upgrades, while pilots from both species trained together in mixed formations. It's incredible how well they work together, observed Iunji as she watched human and Velkari pilots practice complex maneuvers. Your pilots think in 3 dimensions naturally, while ours excel at precise formation flying. Combined, we're far more effective than either group alone. The cultural exchange continued even as they prepared for war. Kyung-soo had taught several human engineers Velkari meditation techniques that improved their focus during complex repairs. Meanwhile, human creativity had inspired Velkari scientists to consider problems from completely new angles. Captain, Dr. Wu Jin said as he found So Young reviewing tactical reports, I've been analyzing the social dynamics between our species. The integration is happening faster than any xenosociology model predicted. Why do you think that is? So Young asked. Shared values and compatible psychology, he replied. Both humans and Velkari are naturally curious, value individual life, and believe in helping others. We're not just allies of convenience, we're genuinely compatible species. On the 4th day, reinforcements began arriving. First came 3, more Velkari ships from their nearest colony, followed by a human destroyer that had pushed its engines beyond safe limits to reach them in time. Captain Tae-hyung of the destroyer Defiance was a veteran officer with gray hair and steady hands. He brought news from Earth that both encouraged and worried the combined fleet. Starfleet is mobilizing every available ship, he reported during the strategy briefing, but the closest reinforcements won't arrive for another week. We're on our own for the initial engagement. Admiral Gyumja, the Velkari fleet commander who had arrived with the colonial defense ships, studied the tactical projections with professional calm. Our combined forces now number 15 ships against an estimated 300. The odds are not favorable. They never are, So Young replied. But we have something the Devourers don't. The ability to surprise them. Jae-won had been working around the clock on the quantum virus project with Yejin and several other scientists from both species. Their breakthrough came on the F. The massive Devourer fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of mechanical locusts. 300 ships arranged themselves in perfect formation, their black hulls absorbing light as if they were holes cut from reality itself. Captain So Young. Kim stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, watching the enemy formation with a mixture of fear and determination. Around her, the combined human-Velkari fleet looked pitifully small. 15 ships against 300. All ships report ready, announced Minho from his tactical station. But Captain, those numbers... I know, So Young replied quietly. David fought Goliath with worse odds. On the main screen, Commander Timon's face showed the calm resolve of someone who had accepted his fate. Captain Kim, it has been an honor serving alongside your species. Whatever happens today, our peoples have found something precious. Friendship born in battle. Before So Young could respond, new contacts appeared on the sensor display. Ships emerged from hyperspace behind the Devourer fleet, human and Velkari reinforcements arriving at the crucial moment. Admiral Gyumja reporting with 12 Velkari defense ships, came a transmission from the new arrivals. Captain Tae-hyung aboard the battlecruiser Defiance with 6 human vessels, added another voice. The odds were still overwhelming, but no longer completely hopeless. 33 ships against 300, with the element of surprise and the quantum virus as their secret weapons. All fleet commanders, this is Admiral Gyumja assuming tactical command, announced the elderly Velkari officer. Execute battle, Plan Omega. The combined fleet split into 3 groups. The main force, led by Admiral Gyumja, would engage the Devourer fleet directly. A second group under Captain Tae-hyung would flank the enemy formation. The third group, consisting of just 2 ships, would attempt to penetrate the Devourer defenses and deliver the virus. Insu piloted the modified Velkari fighter that would carry the virus, while Boram flew escort in a heavily armed human corvette. Both ships had been equipped with completely unpredictable systems, engines that randomly changed output, weapons that fired in seemingly random patterns, and navigation computers that made decisions no logical mind could anticipate. Remember, Dr. Wu Jin transmitted to both pilots, your job isn't to fight conventionally. Be as chaotic and unpredictable as possible. The Devourers can't adapt to tactics that make no sense. Understood, Insu replied, his young voice steady despite the magnitude of his mission. If this works, it will be because human chaos and Velkari precision make a combination the Devourers cannot comprehend. And if it doesn't work, Boram asked, then we go down swinging, So Young answered simply. The battle began with the combined fleet charging directly at the Devourer formation. The enemy ships responded with mechanical precision, adjusting their positions to create overlapping fields of fire. But they had calculated their response based on conventional tactics. The human Velkari alliance had no intention of fighting conventionally. All ships, execute Pattern Chaos 7, ordered Admiral Guillaume Jia. There was no Pattern Chaos 7. Every ship began moving in completely random directions, firing weapons at targets that made no tactical sense, and executing maneuvers that violated every principle of space combat. The Devourers, whose entire tactical framework was based on logical analysis, found themselves unable to predict their enemies' movements. Their adaptive weapon systems couldn't lock onto targets that moved without pattern or purpose. It's working, reported Yunji as her fighter squadron wove through the enemy formation like drunken dancers. Their targeting computers are completely confused, but the Devourers had advantages beyond adaptation. They had numbers, firepower, and the patience of machines. As the chaotic battle raged, they began to score hits through pure volume of fire. The Velkari ship Morning Star took a direct hit from 3 Devourer weapons at once. Its captain, Min Jung, transmitted a final message as her ship broke apart. Tell my family I died fighting alongside friends. The human destroyer Courage rammed a Devourer command ship, both vessels disappearing in a brilliant explosion that lit up the battlefield. We're losing too many ships, Minho reported grimly. The virus delivery team needs to hurry. Insu and Boram had penetrated deep into the Devourer formation, their chaotic flight patterns confusing every enemy ship they passed. But the Devourer mothership loomed ahead like a metal mountain, bristling with weapons and defended by dozens of escort vessels. There's no way through those defenses, Boram transmitted, as enemy fire filled the space around them. Then we make our own way, Insu replied. His fighter suddenly accelerated to ramming speed, heading directly for the mothership's hull. Insu, what are you doing? Demanded Admiral Guillaume Jia. Something completely illogical, the young pilot answered. Boram, when I hit their hull, you'll have maybe 30 seconds before their defenses adapt. Use them. Wait, there has to be another way. But Insu had already committed to his course. His fighter slammed into the Devourer mothership's armor, creating a breach that should have been impossible for such a small vessel to achieve. The impact was precisely calculated to disable the mothership's defensive grid for exactly the time Boram would need. Boram's corvette dove through the breach, its hull scraping against twisted metal as she fought to reach the mothership's computer core. Her ship's sensors, modified with Velkari technology, located the central processing unit within seconds. Virus uploading, she reported, her voice tight with concentration. 30 seconds to completion. But the Devourers were already adapting. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut around Boram's ship, trapping her inside the enemy vessel. Weapon systems came online, filling the small space with deadly energy. Boram, get out of there, So Young ordered. Negative, Captain. Someone has to make sure the upload completes. Boram's voice remained calm, even as her ship's hull began to buckle under enemy fire. Tell my family I helped save 2 worlds today. 10 seconds to completion, reported Dr. Wu Jin, monitoring the virus upload from the Endeavor. Boram's corvette exploded just as the upload finished. The quantum virus spread through the Devourer network like wildfire, corrupting command protocols and disrupting their perfect coordination. Across the battlefield, Devourer ships began to behave erratically. Some stopped firing altogether, while others turned their weapons on their own allies. The mechanical precision that had made them nearly invincible dissolved into chaos. "All ships, press the attack," ordered Admiral Gyumja. "The virus is working." The combined fleet, still fighting with chaotic unpredictability, tore into the confused Devourer formation. Ships that had seemed invulnerable moments before now fell to concentrated fire from human and Velkari weapons. But victory came at a terrible cost. Over half the Allied fleet had been destroyed or damaged beyond repair. Heroes from both species had given their lives to achieve this moment. "Devourer mothership is breaking apart," reported Ye-Jin from her science station. "The virus has completely corrupted their central computer. The massive enemy vessel split along its length. Its death throws triggering a cascade failure throughout the Devourer network. Ship after ship fell silent as the virus spread, their mechanical minds unable to process the chaotic code that Insu and Boram had died to deliver. Within an hour, the most dangerous Devourer fleet in known space had been reduced to drifting debris. The few surviving enemy ships fled into hyperspace, their collective intelligence shattered by the quantum virus. "All ships report," Admiral Gyumja ordered wearily. The responses came slowly, each one a mixture of triumph and grief. They had won, but the price had been higher than anyone wanted to pay. Captain So-Young Kim found herself crying for friends she had known for less than a week. Insu had been barely out of training, full of enthusiasm for exploration and discovery. Boram had been a brilliant engineer with plans to design faster starships. Both had died to save people they had never met. "Captain," Dr. Wu Jin said softly, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. Starfleet Command wants a full report on the battle and first contact protocols." So-Young wiped her eyes and straightened her uniform. There would be reports to write, officials to brief, and a galaxy to rebuild. But first there was something more important. "Admiral Gyumja, Commander Taemin, I request permission to hold a joint memorial service for all personnel lost in this battle." Granted immediately, both officers replied simultaneously. The memorial service took place in space, with ships from both fleets forming a circle around a small asteroid. Representatives from each vessel shared stories of the fallen, their words translated so that everyone could understand. Na Young spoke about Boram's dedication to her work and her dream of exploring distant stars. Yunji told stories of Insu's terrible jokes and his determination to protect others. Captain Min Jung was remembered for her courage in the face of impossible odds, but the memorial was not just about grief. It was about the bonds that had been forged between two species in the heat of battle. Human and Velkari crew members had fought side by side, died for each other, and proven that the universe was not as cold and empty as it sometimes seemed. "Today, we honor those who gave everything so that others might live," Admiral Gyumja said as the service concluded. "Their sacrifice has created something precious, an alliance between peoples who were